Thanks for watching CBS 8 Plus, and welcome to this News 8 Throwback Special. I'm Marcella Lee. With more than 70 years of broadcasting, we've been able to share so many memorable moments in our San Diego community and beyond. This time we're taking you back to February of 1979. Then Police Chief Bill Kolender gave us a first-hand look at what it was like for him to be top cop in San Diego. He had been on the job for 4 years and was the youngest chief of police in San Diego history, 40 years old when he was appointed.
Carry it all the way down to the street.
We're right here, right behind.
The ambulance is right here. Okay, who goes first? Clear it out of here. Let's go.
Eddie Douglas. You are becoming a member of one of the most difficult professions that exists. I was born in Chicago, and my folks came out here when I was 11, and I went to Benjamin Franklin, Herbert Hoover High School, and City College State, and I went in the Navy when I was 18. Got out when I was 20, I was a reserve, and I went to San Diego Junior College and worked at Pacific Surplus at 9th and G. Just before I was 21, a friend of mine was in the police department, and we were talking, and I thought, well, I'll try that. I thought it'd be kind of interesting, but plus I figured I'd work as a policeman at night and then go to college and do whatever I was going to do. And so I did that, and I worked 11 at night to 7 in the morning for a long time, and went to school from 8 to noon. Took me about 7 years to get a degree, and I found I was really liking it, and I decided to stay. When I got to be a deputy or assistant chief, then I thought, well, maybe someday I may have a chance at it. But I never dreamed that it would be that quick.
Which crimes could lap over from one community to the other. San Diego and these other cities are fairly contiguous to itself, so as far as comparison, it would be extremely difficult to compare San Diego to Los Angeles.
A report prepared for the City Council to put the crime situation in its proper perspective.
Obviously, when you come on, you want to go as far as you want to. I would think most people feel that way. And maybe someday I want to be the chief, but I think you have to look ahead step at a time. Otherwise, you kind of your vision gets blurred.
Morning, Dick.
Good. When I graduated from college, I think I was one of the few policemen that had a bachelor's degree in those days. Today, every one of my staff has a master's degree. Got guys who are attorneys out in the street. I mean, education is here.
Hi, folks. This is my friend, Duke.
When you have a large organization, you have a lot of people, you have to have some means of communication with people in the organization. You have to have some way of filtering from those who are doing the work up to those who are managers, the problems. And then once you get those problems, you have to have some kind of methods in which to solve them. And they have to be done, I think, in a logical, in a thoughtful manner. And that's what the whole thing's all about. My job is to communicate, is to set a tone, set an attitude, and make decisions on policies and procedures for the police department. But the information that the other chiefs and I use to make our decisions on has to come from those who are doing the work. John, when did you go on motors? Gee, that's nice.
Not like my old Harley. They're beautiful machines.
Hi.
Well, I'll tell you, now that we got all Hondas.
They're not bad for it all, and I encourage that, and even more so of the top staff. I don't want people who are going to say, yeah, Chief, that's right, when it really isn't. I want them to be critics. I want them to be critical of what we do, and to be able to say, you know, maybe we shouldn't do this, maybe we ought to do that, and to make some analysis of the situation. And if they don't believe in it, then I want them to say so, and I want their opinions to be loud and clear. Of course, once the decision is made, then that's a different story.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
With us on the newsline right now is the chairman of the Integration Task Force, San Diego Police Chief Bill Kolender. Well, Chief, this is essentially what the whole plan was for, to get it underway today.
That's correct, Al.
How many people do we have going out to how many different schools today, Chief?
Well, about 110 monitors. They'll be going to 60 schools. They'll be going out sometime during this week.
I feel very strongly that aside from law enforcement, education has a great part in the quality of life in our city, and that integration is an important part of education, and that the voluntary program should have every opportunity to work. And so I'm involved in trying to help it work, and I do get self-satisfaction from it. It is frustrating, it's very difficult, it's much more complicated than I had anticipated, but I do see some progress, and I do see a lot of people who are becoming committed to evaluating that program properly.
Changes that are made in the program, improvements, whatever, that is the prerogative of Judge Welch. We are there as his eyes and his ears regarding the voluntary integration program. Okay?
I was flattered that the court would ask a police officer to do that, and well, candor, that was part of my motivation.
The court has approved
I thought, you know, that's kind of nice, and he said he was doing it not because of me as a police chief, but because of my involvement in the community, and I thought that was great.
I didn't call that a sales pitch. Look, and I'm not the school's defender, but if you're going to be evaluating that brick, you better know how the brick is made.
6 Edward, I'm 10-8 from County Unit 1019 traffic. 6 Edward, 1019 traffic, station.
There's nothing but police brutality down here. These police down here trying to clean up the city because Mayor Wilson told them to clean it up. And they down here harassing people and violating people's constitutional rights. And that's exactly what they're doing.
Well, I think things are looking a lot better. Still have a lot of problems here with some of the strong-arm robberies and the pimps and the whores, but I think basically the guys have cleaned it up a little bit. You could almost walk down here and be safe. You can see by the streets it's a lot nicer than it was a few months ago. People of this city don't realize how lucky we are to live in San Diego and have the kind of city that we do. That's why I hope we have the foresight enough to build the police department, to keep up with the population and the growth so that we don't have those kind of problems. I think the city's well planned and we don't have the large pockets of population and the tenement housing and the high unemployment and a lot of other problems those cities have. It may happen someday, but I got a feeling you and I will be long gone.
Flag of the United States of America, emblem of the Constitution, and remembering the principles for which it stands, the special session of the Superior Court is now operating. The Honorable William A. Yale, Judge presiding.
By and large, the courts in this county are pretty good. Like many people, I'm a critic of what we call the revolving door policy. The fact that 70% of those who commit serious crimes have been through our system before. And I think there needs to be, I've said it 100 times, some accountability. If you do this, you're rewarded, you're promoted in school, in business, in government, in criminal justice, whatever. You do that, and you're in trouble. And that isn't the way it is. You can get away with a lot, and crime pays, and we don't hold people accountable, and we need more prisons. I recognize that's a very simplistic answer to a very complex problem, because the causes of that socially are very, theoretical and involved. The reasons for crime, aside from accountability, the unemployment, the competition, the highly transit community, the large population, and the fact that people like it. If the people have voted for a death penalty and you don't have one, then the punishment isn't right. I support it. I believe that there are crimes that people commit, that's the only just punishment. I'm not playing God. I just think that in some of these murders of children and things like that they don't deserve to live. And I believe it's a deterrent. You can't throw away the key. It's human life, and you have to do what you can to give those people the opportunity to live their lives to the fullest. But I think that's all people should have is an opportunity. And after that, I think we have an obligation to protect society again.
in front of San Diego Federal Savings and Loan at 6321 Del Cerro. 10-4, unit is down for Evans and Commercial, 1010 to cover on south.
20 John.
120 John.
Come out to County Jail with a 1060.
14 Alpha, how about you?
34.9.
I had several jobs in the street, the police officer, sergeant, and then when I was inspector of the patrol. I found myself at almost every confrontation we had in town. Naval station, sports arena, out in the street, at some of the schools. And, as tense as they were, I found that very stimulating. Because there was always something going on. You really had to do it right, or you could really have some serious problems. Some of the decisions concerning evidence, where the police officer makes a decision that takes 3 minutes and it takes a court, 3 months, and it's 5 to 4, and they say, well, that evidence should have been handled this way and not that way, and this person is released to prey in society. I have some problems with that. And I think that's part of the problem of being a police officer. There is a frustrating job. It's a very difficult one, and it's hard to be a good police officer for a long time. They have a tendency to become a militant minority group. They're readily identifiable. Nobody understands their problems but those from within the group, and the rest of our society is against them. And you've heard that before. And we spend an awful lot of time trying to balance their attitudes and making sure that they're as neutral as possible. Most of them are, some are not, and those are the ones that we ask to leave.
We could probably add 200 officers and be in the position of not being able to promise you that there would be less crime. The initial reaction would be more arrests. The initial reaction would be an increase in crime rate.
What that means is very questionable. I think what it means to me is that the people aren't getting the service they should have. We're not responding as quickly. We're not investigating the cases as well. And probably more important, we're not as proactive as we should be. In other words, rather than wait for the problems to happen, we have the analytical capabilities to know where things are going to happen. And we should be taking action to keep these things from going on. Like we did in the beach, like we've done in many other areas where we start to have things, we should be able to handle it. We did it, and we've done it in quite a few places, and our complaints were minimal. The public responded very positively, and as long as the officers handle it in a humanistic, gentlemanly manner, we're not going to have the complaints. If they got heavy, then maybe it would, but if there was heaviness, it must have been very rare because we didn't get very many complaints about it. I was very proud of them. They really do a good job. Look at today, that murder of that woman with her husband and child in the car. They solved it. And they solved it through digging, through informants and walking the streets and just getting the juvenile bureau, the robbery detail, intelligence, homicide. They all worked together and they solved it. Got the guys in custody.
Well, as Chief mentioned, it was an integrated investigation. We arrested a juvenile yesterday, and he's in custody at Juvenile Hall. Early this morning, we took the 2 other suspects into custody. They voluntarily turned themselves in. A lot of things led to their...
What brought the Chief down here himself to direct this? The Chief comes down on all shootings where police officers are involved, either as victims or as the shooters.
With the power that a police officer has, the fact that they can take a human life, I think it's my responsibility to see that when that gun is used, there is total justification for it. Just like the citizens, there are reasons for what we do, and just like we hold people accountable, citizens, they have to be accountable too, and if they're going to carry a gun, then they better be right when they use it.
We have had in our city an unprecedented amount of shootings, both on the part of our officers and on the part of people towards our officers. It has never been this way since I've been around in the 23 years. We are very concerned that in our community, like many communities in this country, we are seeing an increase in violence directed not only against our citizens, but against you as police officers.
Since I've been a chief, twice I've had to go in at night and knock on the door of a home and tell a mother that their son was killed. I don't know how many more times I can do that. I find that very difficult and awful hard to do. It's very, very sad and a total waste. I'm sure it's on their mind, and I'm sure it has a basis for, some of their actions, and I'm sure it makes them feel closer and a lot of other things. You feel an awful lot of emotion when someone you've worked with and laughed with and have feeling for is killed in something like that. I think the danger, I'm not trying to underplay it, but it's probably not as dangerous as some other jobs. But I think what's devastating is, at least it would be to me, and I should think to the community, is that not just that officer, what he represents, or she, and to take the life of that person charged with their responsibility, I think is something that this whole community should feel.
Good morning. We're doing a little TV thing, so...
What are you running for, Chief?
I've been the police chief 3.5 years. I'm 43. I don't know. In a couple of years, maybe private enterprise, maybe something public. I really don't know at this point. I like what I do. I'm enthusiastic. There's still a lot to be done. But in all honesty, when I was 45 or 46, I think I would like to try something else. I'm a politician of sorts right now, and I know it. That's an interesting field. There's not many political officers that make as much as the police chief. I don't know if I could afford them. But here again, maybe someday, I find that a fascinating thing. I think it's fun. I don't like what it does to some people. It dehumanizes them, and they start to take themselves awful serious. But I've seen some people who have really, I felt, handled it very, very well and could really do a lot for the public good, and I would like that.
I'll tell them that. Oh, I'll tell you that joke in a second. Hey, anyway, so Jess is in there, we're all in the stadium club, and it's packed and everybody's drinking. And I walked up to him. I hadn't seen him now since the thing started. I said, "Hi, Jess, good to see you." And I patted him down. And the whole place came unglued, and he just died.
I relax. I try to. I have my evenings, most of them are free, and my weekends, and I have children, and I do what other people do. Well, sometimes I feel awkward. You go somewhere, and especially in a bar or something, you have a drink, and people are looking, that... What's he doing here?
Feeling okay?
Beautiful. I'd like them to know that these police officers out in the street do one outstanding job, and that by and large they are people just like them who are doing a very difficult and demanding occupation. And I would like the public to have a little empathy and understanding for that.
Okay. So we just checked it out with homicide. Thank you.
I want to be a good police chief, and I hope they feel that.
Bill Kolender was San Diego's police chief from 1975 to 1988. He then served as San Diego County Sheriff from 1995 until his retirement in 2009. The Sheriff's Department credits him with making a significant impact in improving law enforcement throughout the state of California. Kolender died in 2015 at the age of 80 after a long battle with Alzheimer's disease. Thanks for joining us for this News 8 Throwback special. I'm Marcella Lee. I'll see you next time.